to What's Cooking New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, a dietitian with the Heart of New Ulm Project, working to reduce and eventually eliminate heart attacks in the 56073 zip code. We've got a lot going on with the Heart of New Ulm, cooking classes and other events as well. Make sure to check our website at heartofnewulm.org to find out everything that's new and opportunities for you to become involved. So today we have a great recipe to bring you. It's our farmer market quesadillas, and we have Steve and Tracie Vranich. Welcome.
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your recipe, why you chose it, and all of the innuendos that go with this one. So there's a lot of great information today, so go ahead.
All right. Well, the recipe was chosen because it uses farmers market vegetables.
Okay.
I am involved with the growing green, which is a part of putting green, which is about the environment. We have this small farm that we're doing, and we're raising vegetables. Vegetables fit in with the Heart of New Ulm,
That's
with
right.
the diet. And we want people to buy things locally, things that are in season. So farmers market is a great starting point. So I saw that title on this recipe and thought, okay, it's good. It looks healthy. So chose this.
Great. Now remember, the Heart of New Ulm promotes 7 to 9 fruits and vegetables per day. It sounds like a lofty goal, but as you follow along with these recipes, you're going to see it's not as hard as it sounds. So why don't you talk about the vegetables you chose and how they're going to fit into your recipe?
All right. The vegetables, basically what you will do is you will go to a farmer's market or to wherever the grocery store and see what vegetables are available, what you like. And the nice thing about this recipe is you can just adjust it to either your taste or what's available. But the recipe as written calls for, it's beautiful colors here, but calls for yellow zucchini, red pepper, onion, green zucchini, and spinach,
Okay.
a leafy something.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can do what is, I guess, what fits with you or what is available. You don't have to use these things. Spinach is the example. You can use the spinach, which is really good for you, full of nutrients. Other things you could use kale. A lot of people aren't familiar with
That's
kale.
right.
It packs a lot of nutrition. That's more your area.
Right.
But it packs a lot of nutrients. And if you can incorporate this in any foods, it just helps beef up the
Great.
nutrient in the whatever you're preparing.
That's right. Things like kale are going to be high in your vitamin A, your beta carotene, and they're so good way to just change the flavor a little bit. You know, not all greens are created equal. So by trying the different greens, you might find a different flavor combination that you really like. So, you know, it's really nice to see the kale. We all see it at the grocery store, and we tend to walk past. We do get it with farmers markets.
Right.
It's not the hot item, but, you know, you might really surprise yourself. So it's great that you have it along
Because
today.
I think it's a lot of people don't know what to do with it. And so, and it is strong. It's stronger than a lettuce. And this is Swiss chard, also full of nutrients, and it's a little milder. And so that's kind of an in-between one as well. But if you can just put little bits of this in a spaghetti sauce or something, or like this quesadilla that we're doing today. But today, to demonstrate, we're going to do it with spinach.
Great. Now, Swiss chard and kale, is that something that you can also get at Growing Green? Is that something that's grown down there as well?
Yes,
Great.
we are growing all of that. The way we decide the vegetables to grow, one, we want to grow things that people are familiar with, because you want people to purchase the vegetables and be able to use them. So carrots, green beans, things that they know about. But we also want people to branch out and experiment and get some of those things like kale that they're not familiar with and incorporate that into their diet as well. And then the way we help them do that, because if you just come and pick up your box, which is the way if you're a member, you get this box each week with whatever is growing that week. And this is in there. We don't want you to waste it, and we don't want you to be fearful of this, so we give you recipes, and we give you ideas. We give you quick recipes, we give you storage ideas, and just some simple things, again, just to get more vegetables in
Great.
your diet.
Now, with your Growing Green, could I just come down and purchase straight kale, or I need to buy by the box?
Right now, because we are still new and trying to get this where we want it to go, you have to be what's called a CSA member.
Okay.
And the way CSA membership works is you pay upfront a farmer, and we're not the only one. Growing Green through Putting Green is not the only one. There are other ones in the area. You pay the farmer upfront to help them eliminate risk. If a farmer grows a bunch of produce and nobody buys their produce, that's not good for the farmer. It's not good for the environment, because we're all about that as well. So you pay up front, and you're willing then to accept what is grown. So you get what we put in the box. You come and pick up a weekly box that feeds about a family of 2, depends on how you cook with it, and you get that throughout the growing season. And in Minnesota, that's maybe 18 to 20 weeks
Great.
you receive produce. And it's not
Pretty good
just
deal.
vegetables. It is a good deal. It's good you get vegetables, fruits. We have fresh herbs out there as well. It's good for the farmer because it reduces the risk of having customers, but it's also good for we think, the consumer, because you are getting these things that maybe you're not used to. And we did this last year, was our first year, and one of the things that we heard, people were saying, I'm eating way more vegetables than I ever have because I'm being given the vegetables weekly and you're telling me how to prepare them. And so back to Heart of New Ulm, it's such a perfect pairing, the local produce.
Great. Well, good.
Right.
Well, I think we're ready to put Steve to work over there.
All right.
Let's put this together.
The silent partner here. All right. So the first step that we do, we've got our skillet, and you're going to heat up some olive oil in that skillet. And you can probably speak to why we're using olive oil.
Yeah, that's right. We try to always use olive oil as our base. It is the key component in our Mediterranean diet. Remember, this is going to bring up your good cholesterol and down your bad. It's still calorie containing, so we're careful with our portion size. But when you're choosing a fat or you're choosing anything to saute in, olive oil is always going to be your best choice.
All right, so you warm up your olive oil, and then you're going to add the vegetables, basically, that take longer to cook. So you're going to start by, once that warms up, your red pepper, your zucchini, your yellow squash, and your onion. And those we've already, Steve actually, has already chopped in the size that you would want to use. And you just have to make sure when you do cut these up that they're small enough that they'll stay in your quesadilla, because if you have them in too large of chunks, they're going to come out. And so you use a half of a cup. It's really a simple recipe. About a half of a cup of each. If you like a little bit more onion or a little bit more red pepper, you can adjust it according to your taste.
Right. And like you said, now this is a beautiful combination. The color in this is great. But if you chose something like mushrooms or anything else that you really enjoy, those can also be incorporated into this recipe, correct?
Correct. And it's just going to change the taste a little bit. And that's the other thing about this recipe. It's a basic recipe that you could eat over and over and change up the ingredients, and so it's going to taste a little different. So you're going to do this for about 4 minutes. Saute these. And then we'll add the spinach, because that doesn't cook as long, so you just kind of throw that in at the end.
All right. Well, while these are sauteing, let's go ahead and check in with Holly for her Fit in 5.
Spring is in full swing, and so is baseball, softball, and a variety of other sporting events. If you're running your kids from one event to another, and you find that finding time for your own fitness routine is nothing but daunting, there is a way where you can get your physical activity in while watching your child's sports. We're here today at North Park, and you can see around us that the baseball games are just beginning. You can also see that we have some parents walking around the field while they're waiting for the games to start. Some of those parents will walk throughout the game while watching their child's event. Walking and watching is a great way to get your activity in and expend some of that pent-up energy, especially if it's a close game. Just make sure you watch out for those foul balls. Now, if you don't want to walk and you want to stay still or stay seated while watching, because you can take in the action a little bit better that way, that's great. Just take your sit to a stand. Don't forget that 7th inning stretch. We want to make sure that we stand up and stretch the mind and the body throughout the game. Hopefully these tips will help you hit a grand slam in your summer events this year. Take me out to the ball game. That's today's Fit in 5.
Thanks, Holly. We appreciate those tips. All right, Tracy and Steve, how's it coming?
How's it coming, Steve?
Well, it's coming along just fine. One thing, the recipe, just to point out, calls for a non-stick pan, but we happen to use a stick pan. Just a normal pan, because when you cook these vegetables, I don't know if you can see it, but it actually starts caramelizing on the bottom, and that adds some nice flavor when you do the quesadilla. So that's just how we do it. So we've sauteed this, and so now we're going to put in some spinach. Is that about a little more than?
Yep, about 1.5 cups.
Yep.
Again, adjust.
And don't get concerned, because spinach cooks down quite a bit. It reduces. So it looks like a lot right now, but that'll cook down to a nice, manageable level.
Yeah. Nice, too, that you haven't had a lot of, your oils and things are very minimal, and so you're going to retain a lot of those nutrients as well. So that's going to turn out great. So Well, while that's cooking, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the growing green, the potting green, and some of the opportunities that we can take advantage of down there.
Okay. Well, we have, as I explained, the CSA. You can do that. And at this time, you need to become a member, but that isn't always an option for everybody. And because Putting Green is a nonprofit, and we're about education, and that's really what the goal of Growing Green is, to educate people about healthy food, local food, is we are forming a coalition of local growers where it's in the starting process, talking to people. And it doesn't matter where you get your produce locally. It's whatever you do is good for the earth if you buy locally, from fossil fuels to all of that. And you can probably speak to the fact that local fresh produce, the nutrient value is higher because on average, any item on your plate travels about 1,500 miles.
Amazing. Yeah.
And nutrients are lost when it's weeks on a truck or in a grocery store. So anytime you can buy something fresh picked. So if you go to a farmer's market
Great,
or you
yeah.
do a CSA, you're going to get almost always picked within the last few days.
Right.
And so the nutrient value is
even
higher.
higher.
The other thing that we're learning, the taste. People who aren't accustomed, who haven't had gardens probably in the past, especially young people who weren't raised on that, they are realizing vegetables can taste really great if you are eating freshly picked ones. Asparagus is an example. Something that you have in the grocery store has been around for a long time. If you can have asparagus picked, which we're doing right now, it's our first year to have asparagus out at the Growing Green because it takes 3 years. It's amazing, the taste difference. And that also is helpful with kids because they get put off sometimes by vegetables, but if they taste fresh vegetables, like I
Best
don't
way to
know,
go.
right,
Yeah.
that broccoli or asparagus or kale
Great.
actually could taste that good.
Good.
So we should
So,
go to...
Yep, looks
Yep,
like
we're
Steve
ready
is
to-
ready for our next step.
We're ready to pull these out of the pan, so we can just throw that into a bowl here.
So you're going to want to keep using that same pan, is that correct, Steve? We're
Yep.
going to keep that flavor in there?
Just going to keep using the same pan, just one pan to clean up, and then that, you'll see the bottom of the skillet has that caramelized flavor going on, so
Okay.
we'll just use that one. And then Trace, I think from there we just give it a spray.
Yep, just a little spray it now just to keep that tortilla from sticking.
And then we're going to use whole wheat
Yeah, right.
Oh,
tortillas.
right.
They're
Exactly.
great.
Yeah,
Full of
that-
fiber and low carbs.
And when you
And low
do
fat as well.
in a quesadilla style, we found when we did this, I did this for my family, the flavor of this versus a typical
mhm.
tortilla, it just had this really nice, grainy, in a good way, not to be put off by that, sometimes that's a negative, flavor. So,
Okay.
Good.
all right.
So what do you estimate there, Steve? About how much of that is about a half cup, a cup? What's going into each of our serving sizes?
Each of the servings, that would probably be about a third to half of a cup.
Okay.
Again, depending on how full you want to make yours.
And remember, we have a lot of latitude when we're working with vegetables. We really don't have a cap. We don't want to say only half a cup or only a third of a cup. If you get a few extra vegetables in there, that's really going to be okay.
Then we're going to put some low-fat cheddar cheese on ours. Again, any kind of cheese. You could use really any style. Kojak, cheddar,
But look for the
Mexican
reduced-
blends.
Reduced
So we'll put that
fat
on,
version.
and then at this point in time,
This cooks very quickly.
so do we go ahead and flip
Yep,
it there,
well, you're going
Trace?
to fold it in half. And this is a cheating way to do a quesadilla, actually. You can do it the whole version,
Right.
you know, the
Yep,
quesadilla.
put another one on top.
But I read somewhere, you know, you don't really have to impress anybody when you're just trying to cook in your
They're
own
hard
kitchen.
to flip that
They're
way.
really hard
They do
to
make
flip.
a special
Yeah.
spatula if you want to
Get
do
it all the way
whole
under
And
there.
you
thing, but-
lose the guts, and so it's just easier to do them in a half.
Right. And it doesn't change your vegetable intake, so you just reduce your carbohydrate intake a little bit that way, so it works just as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That way you don't overeat.
that's right. That's right. So
And they
good.
are very filling.
Good. Now, what would you normally like to have this with? What would you serve your quesadilla with? Or do you count this as your entire meal?
Well, the night that we had it, we did have a salad, actually, on the side. And we, in our family now, we are trying to do some meals meatless if we
Okay.
can. And if you can get something like this that is very satisfying, so you throw in another vegetable. The other thing we found when we ate them, you could put sour cream, you know, typically sour cream, salsa, and did we bring the sour cream? We have fat-free sour cream over here.
Yep, and some homemade salsa.
And homemade salsa.
Homemade
You know,
salsa,
back
good.
to what can you do with your vegetables? Well,
Exactly.
last summer we had tomatoes out at Growing Green, as everybody does, and you get lots of tomatoes at one time. We happen to have lots of Roma tomatoes, and Steve here made salsa.
Great.
And so this is what we have left over from last year's harvest, which is also important. You want to eat things in season. You want to try to stretch them out. You don't want to be eating strawberries in January kind of thing. We all need to learn how to eat vegetables and fruits within their season. So this is a great accompaniment. So we did the salsa.
And that salsa really works great in the winter. You know, when we're looking for that extra tomato boost, and to have a nice canned salsa like that is really
It
a
always
treat.
seems like at the end of the year, too, there's always too many tomatoes
Exactly,
left.
exactly.
You know,
And
you run out
again,
of
that
things
goes back
do.
to avoiding the waste and making the most of our vegetables. So that's a great idea.
Right, and the flavor is incredible when you have those fresh picked tomatoes, and we grew jalapenos and habanero, really hot peppers, and I think the onion, all that went into that, everything came from the Growing Green farm.
Great.
So
great.
that's
Well, you have an event coming up that you'd like to mention,
Yes,
so let's go ahead
yes.
and take a look at that as well.
Putting Green, again, we're about all local producers, all local growers. It's all good for the environment, from the fossil fuels to the local economy, the freshness of the produce. Most of them, or a lot of them, are organic, and you can get free-range chickens and the beef, that they don't use the hormones and all of that. And so we're trying to help other producers and raisers get the word out that everybody should try to be eating more local produce. And the thing that we look at, it's good for you, it's good for the community, and it's good for the earth.
Great.
A statistic I just heard, if you can buy local produce, $1 worth of local produce actually leaves or brings $3 into your community. It's that multiplying effect. So we have something we're calling it Moonlight Market, and it coincides with the full moon in June. It is Saturday, June 26th, and it will be held at Putting Green Park, and it's going to run from 4 until midnight.
Great.
And it's going to start with area farmers that anything from eggs, strawberries, the vegetables that are in season will be available. And we're looking for, we just met a farmer, they do hazelnuts within like a 60-mile area. So we're going to have a variety of things out there. We're going to have educational sessions on the hour, so you'll learn about different things, one of them being Heart of New Ulm is going to be, I know, right, you'll be back. And it'll be incorporating food then from the Heart. There'll be wine tasting from Morgan Creek Vineyard, and there'll be entertainment. It's a group called Love and Garlic. They're really entertaining, and they are going to do a show at 8 o'clock out there, and then it's going to move into mini golf, because at Putting Green, of course, we've got the garden, but we also have the mini golf, and that will extend into the evening, midnight. We're looking into glow-in-the-dark kind of mini golf for young people.
So good, a full family event then.
Exactly.
Great, great. Now, if you're a local grower that has some locally grown produce, how do they get in contact with you?
The best way would be to go to Putting Green's website or contact me.
Directly.
If I can, yep, directly.
Good.
And also, the Heart of New Ulm will have information, so you can find links, phone numbers that way, because we are looking for local producers.
All of these links will be available on our website at heartofnewulm.org, so be sure to check in and be able to make a priority to attend this event, or bring your produce or your locally grown meats or whatever you have. It's going to be a great event, and it's a good way to open up these doors for our entire community. So, well, I sure appreciate you both being here today. Your quesadilla looks great, and can't wait to take a bite. So thanks for being here.
Right?
If you could only smell it.
Right,
so.
it smells great.
And that's what we have for you today from What's Cooking New Ulm. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.